In this video, we will dive into the movie The Gangster, The Cop, and The Devil. We will also discuss the storyline, summarize the plot, explore the cast and the characters. Additionally, we will cover the film production detail and box office performance. Finally, we will share reviews and personal reactions. So let's get started. When we begin talking about The Gangster, The Cop, The Devil, it's important to slow down for a moment and appreciate why this film deserves real discussion. At first glance, it may seem like just another crime thriller, a gangster, a cop, and a serial killer locked in a violent chase. But once you look closer, you realize there is something far more deliberate and carefully constructed happening beneath the surface. Let's start with the genre. The movie operates with a crime, action, thriller space, but it does not simply follow the usual formula. Many crime thrillers rely on predictable structures, a detective chasing a criminal, moral lines clearly drawn, justice neatly delivered. Here, those lines are blurred. The gangster becomes a victim, the cop becomes an uneasy ally, the serial killer becomes the true embodiment of chaos. The genre conventions are there: brutal fights, tense integrations, shadowy streets, but they are rearranged in a way that feels fresh. The movies play with our expectations and keeps us slightly off balance. That alone make it worth analyzing. Now consider the director Lee Won-tae. His approach is grounded and controlled. He does not overwhelm the audience with flashy editing or unnecessary spectacle. Instead, he builds tension patiently. Notice how the violence is not exaggerated for style, it's direct, heavy, and impactful. Each punch feels real, each confrontation carries weight. Lee Won-tae understand pacing. He allows quiet moment to breathe before exploding into action. That rhythm, calm, tension, eruption keep viewers emotionally invested. What's especially compelling is how the director frame morality. In many crime films, the hero and villain are easy to identify. Here, the hero is technically a criminal, the cop bends rule, the serial killer operate without logic or code. Levante presents these three forces almost like philosophical ideas clashing: order, organized crime, and pure evil. The discussion becomes deeper than just who catches whom, it becomes a reflection on power and justice. Let's also talk about production style. Visually, the film embraces a gritty urban atmosphere. The city feels dark and living. Lighting is often low, creating a sense of constant threat. The camera work is steady rather than chaotic, which make the action sequence clearer and more grounded. Instead of stylized slow motion shots, we get close physical comeback that emphasize realism. This grounded production style strengthens the story's tension, and other production strength lies in performance emphasis. The camera frequently linger on facial expression rather than cutting away quickly. This choice allows actors to carry emotional weight. The physical presence of Ma Dong-seok adds a commanding energy to every scene he appears in. His character is brutal yet oddly principled. The contrast between his control, power, and the unpredictable menace of Kim Sun Kyu serial killer create a psychological tension that elevate the film beyond standard action fare. The movie's international recognition also speaks volume. Its screening at the Cannes Film Festival helped introduce global audience to a crime story that feels distantly South Korea yet universally gripping. It demonstrates how Korean cinema continue to refine and redefine genre storytelling. So why this movie worth discussing? Because it challenges genre expectation, because its direction is controlled and purposeful, because its production style reinforces theme, and most frequently because it turns a simple premise, a gangster and cop chasing a killer, into a layered exploration of power, revenge, and uneasy cooperation. As we move deeper into analysis, keep in mind this is not just an action film, it is a carefully shaped collision of three moral forces, and that collision is what makes it truly fascinating to talk about. The film was produced with an estimated budget of production approximately 6 to 6.5 million US dollars. Within the context of the South Korea film industry, this places the movie in the mid-range commercial category. It is neither a slow-budget independent production nor a large-scale blockbuster. Instead, it reflects a careful managed investment designed to balance production quality with financial risk. For comparison, major Hollywood action thrillers frequently operate with budget exceeding 40 to 100 million dollars, particularly when visual effect, international location, and large marketing campaigns are involved. In contrast, South Korea commercial crime films often fall between 5 and 15 million dollars depending on cost, size, action complexity, and distribution scale. At roughly 6.5 million dollars, this film sits comfortably within the industry norm for a domestic action thriller with international ambitions. A significant portion of the budget was likely allocated to cast and key creative personnel. The presence of Mang Dong-soo, a well-established box office draw in South Korea and increasingly recognized internationally, would have required a competitive salary. Lead actors and principal creative figures such as the director Lee Won-tae generally represent one of the largest single expense category in the mid-budget film. Compensation for supporting actors, producers, and the essential department heads would also contribute meaningfully to above the line cost. Another major area of resource allocation likely involve action choreography and stunt coordination. High budget Hollywood productions that rely heavily on computer generated imagery, this film emphasizes practical light sequence and grounded physical confrontation. This approach reduces visual effects spending but increases cost associated with stunt professional safety supervision, rehearsals, and controlled shooting environments. Urban location filming permits night shoots and logistical coordination would further add to operational expenses. Production design and cinematography also require measurable investment. The film's dark urban aesthetic suggests careful lighting setup, controlled set dressing, and location management. Although the movie does not feature elaborate fantasy set or extensive CGI, creating a consistent visual tone requires skilled technician and adequate equipment. Camera rentals, lighting rigs, sound recording system, and transportation services represent steady but necessary expenditure within the total budget. Post production typically count for another meaningful share of spending. Editing, sound mixing, color grading, and physical scoring are especially important in crime thriller, where pacing and tension defines audience management. While these costs are smaller than large scale digital effect budget, they remain essential for refining performances, maintaining suspense, and ensuring technical polish suitable for theatrical release. When compared to similar South Korean action films, the budget appears efficient. Some domestic action titles have exceeded 8 to $10 million, particularly those involving large scale set piece or historical reconstruction. Others operate below 5 millions but may sacrifice production scale. At approximately $6.5 million, this film achieves a balance between visual quality and financial discipline. Financially, the film performs strongly relatively to its investment, generating over $25 million worldwide. That return indicates a favorable action between production cost and box office revenue. In economic terms, the project demonstrates effective cost control, targeted resource allocation, and strong market positioning. Rather than depending on extravagant spending, the production relies on performance strength, genre appeal, and efficient execution. Overall, the production budget reflects a strategically planned mid-scale action thrill. It allocated resources toward talent, practical action design, and control urban cinematography and solid post-production work while avoiding excessive spending in comparative industry terms. The film stands as an example of how moderate budget, when carefully managed, can produce commercially successful, international recognized result. The film firmly belongs to the crime thriller and action genre, yet it operates with psychological intensity that pushes it beyond a standard police versus criminal narrative. At its core, the film blends elements of procedural investigation, organized crime drama, and serial killer suspense. This fusion of subgenre shapes both its structure and its emotional atmosphere. The dominant genre framework is the crime thriller. The story revolves around a serial killer investment, a raw enforcement pursuit, and the involvement of a powerful crime boss. However, unlike conventional thriller where the moral lines are clearly drawn, this film blurs boundaries. The hero fatigue is split between a determined detective and a gangster seeking revenge. This layered genre construction gives the movie a morally complex tone. It feels less like a simple hunt and more like a conclusion between different systems of power, law, crime, and chaos. The mood of the film is consistently dark and tense from the opening scene. The atmosphere is heavy with unease. Nighttime setting dominate much of the visual landscape, reinforcing a sense of lurking danger. The urban atmosphere is not glamorous or stylized in a glossy way. Instead, it feels grounded and lived in. Dimly lit streets, shadow filled parking lots, and cramped interior create visual claustrophobia. This restrained production style strengthens the thriller mood without relying on exaggerated visual effects. Pacing plays a significant role in shaping the film's emotional rhythm. Directed by Lee Bon-tae, the movie avoids constant high-speed action. Instead, it alternates between controlled investigative sequence and sudden burst of violence. The calm moment allow tension to build gradually. Conservation in interrogations and strategic planning scenes allow the tempo just enough to create anticipation. Then, when violence erupts, it feels impactful rather than routine. This deliberate pacing keeps viewer engaged while preventing action fatigues. The tone of the film is serious and unflinching. There is very little humor to lighten the atmosphere, even when the gangster character played by Man Dog-soo display moment of confidence or subtitle charisma. Overall, the mood remain instant. His physical dominance add weight to the scenes, but it does not reduce the seriousness of the narrative. In contrast, the serial killer portrayed by Kim Sung-kyu brings a chilling calmness to the screen. His quiet, almost emotionless presence amplify the psychological tension. The combination of these contrasting performances deepen the film's tone. Stylistically, the movies favor realism over stylization. Fight scenes are filled with steady framing rather than flashy editing. There is a minimal reliance on slow motion or dramatic visual distortion. Instead, physical confrontation feels direct and forceful. The camera often remains close to the action, emphasizing impact rather than spectacle. This stylistic restraint align with the gritty tone and reinforce the film's grounded identity within the crime genre. Sound design also contribute to the mood. Silence is used strategically, especially in scenes involving the serial killer. The absence of heavy background music during certain moments increased discomfort. When music does appear, it tends to underscore tension rather than dominate ambition. This subtitle approach enhances suspense without overwhelming the narrative. Overall, the genre and the mood of the film work together cohesively. It is an action thriller that prioritizes atmosphere and psychological tension over spectacle. Its pacing is measured, its tone is serious, and its stylistic choice emphasizes realism by blending crime drama with serial killer suspense and grounding everything in a dark urban setting. The film creates a consistent mood of tension and moral complexity. The result is a genre piece that feels intense, control, and emotionally heavy from beginning to end. Before watching the film, audience often carry very specific expectations shaped by genre simplicity, familiarity, casting, and the growing global reputation of South Korean cinema. These expectations vary depending on view demographic, genre preferences, and buyers' exposure to crime thriller. But they generally revolve around intensity, moral conflict, and strong character dynamic. For many viewers, especially fans of Korean action cinema, their first expectations come from the castings of Won-soo. He has built a reputation for portraying physically dominant, charismatic character with a mix of toughness and quiet emotional depth. Audience familiar with his work often expect powerful hand-to-hand combat scenes, commanding screen presence, and a character who operate with his own code of honor. His involvement alone signals that the film will likely contain grounded action rather than stylized fantasy combat. Viewers anticipate impact punches that feel heavy and confrontations that carry real tension. From a demographic standpoint, the primary audience expectation likely comes from adult viewers, particularly those between their 20s and the 40s who enjoy crime drama and dark thrillers. Younger audience seeking light entertainments who enjoy crime dramas and darker thrillers. Younger audience seeking light entertainment may anticipate violence and intense but might not fully expect the moral ambiguity the films present. More mature viewers, especially those who appreciate layered storytelling, may go in expecting a narrative that challenges the traditional good versus evil formula. Genre fans, particularly crime thriller enthusiasts, approach the film with a checklist in mind. They expect a serial killer storytelling, investigative tension, cat and mouse dynamic, and escalating stakes. The title itself set a clear thematic triangle: gangster, the cop, and the devil. This structure creates an immediate assumption of conflict between three distinct forces. Many viewers likely anticipate shifting alliance, betrayal, and power struggle. They may expect a fast paced chase narrative where the detective relentlessly pursues a villain, where the gangster complicates the situation. At the same time, fans of South Korean thriller may expect something more nuanced than a conventional Hollywood style action movie. Korean crime films are known for their emotional weight and moral complexity. Because of this industry reputation, audience might anticipate that the movie will explore deeper themes such as revenge versus justice, the blurred line between legality and morality, and the psychological motivation of violence. Even before watching, there may be an assumption that the film will not offer a simple or entirely clean resolution. The director Lee Won-tae, while not as intentionally recognized as some Korean auteurs, still shape expectations among informed viewers. Those familiar with his grounded storytelling style might expect a restrained visual approach rather than flashy spectacle. This lead to anticipation of realism, practical fight choreography, urban setting, and a gritty atmosphere instead of highly stylized atmosphere. Another important expectation revolve around tone. The film marketing and premised suggests a serious, dark mood. Viewers generally anticipate minimal humor and a consistent sense of danger. The presence of serial killer characters set as expectation of psychological tension, unsettling scenes. Audience often assume the devil figure will be portrayed as unpredictable and chilling, contributing to suspense throughout the run time. International viewers may also approach the film with curiosity about Korean crime storytelling film itself. After the global rise of Korean cinema in recent years, audience outside South Korea often expect high production quality, disciplined pacing, and strong character development. Even with genre film, there may be an assumption that the film will blend environment entertainment with thematic depth rather than relying purely on action sequences. However, not all the expectations are identical. Some viewers might anticipate a straightforward action film centered primarily on physical confrontation, especially given Ma Dong-seok action-oriented reputation. Others might expect a more investigative, detective-focused thriller. This difference in expectation can shape the viewing experience. If someone expects non-stop action, they may be surprised by the Mayer pacing. If someone expects a purely procedural drama, they may find the gangster alliance element refreshingly unconventional. In my opinion, the film benefits from these layered expectations. It promises action, deliver tension, and introduce moral ambiguity without overcomplicating its structure. Audience anticipation play a significant role in how the movie is received. Viewers step in expecting to clash of forces, law, crime, and chaos, and the film meet that anticipation with control intensity. Ultimately, before pressing play, most audiences expect a dark, gripping crime thriller driven by strong performance, intense confrontation, and morally complex storytelling. These expectations form the foundation of the viewing experience, shaping how each scene is interpreted and how deeply the themes resonate once the story unfolds. It is clearly designed for a specific segment of viewers rather than a broad family audience. Its tone, violence, pacing, and moral complexity signal that it is primarily made for mature audience who appreciate grounded crime storytelling. When analyzing its target audience, three main key areas stand out: age group, interest, and genre preferences. In terms of age group, the film is best suited for adults, particularly viewers age 18 and above. The movie contains intense violence, disturbing serial killer themes, and morally ambiguous character. These elements require a reveal of emotional maturity to fully process and appreciate. Teenagers seeking light entertainment or family friendly content would likely find the tone too dark and the subject matter too heavy. The film does not offer colorful visual fantasy escapism or comedic relief typical of youth oriented action movies. Instead, it represents a serious narrative about crime and justice. Therefore, the primary demographic likely fall between 20 and 45-year old, an audience comfortable with gritty realism and character complex motivation. Regarding interest, this movie appeals strongly to viewers who are drawn to crime stories, investigative narrative, and psychological tension. People who enjoy explore the darker side of human behavior, including serial killer psychology and organized crime dynamic, will find the film engaging. The central premise of a gangster and a cop forming an uneasy alliance create an intellectual hook. It invites viewers who are interested in moral dramas rather than simple hero versus villain storytelling. Fans of character driven action are also the part of the target audience. The performances of Man Dong-seok play a significant role in attracting viewers. Audience who appreciate physically commanding performance combined with restrained emotional expression will connect with his portrait. His fan base, both domestically and internationally, represent a core audience segment. These viewers expect grounded, impactful fight sequence rather than exaggerated CGI heavy spectacle. The film is also trailer to those who prefer tension built through atmosphere rather than rapid fire editing or explosive special effect. Directed by Lee Won-tae, the movie favors control pacing and steady storytelling. Viewers who appreciate deliberate build-up and realistic confrontation will respond positively. In contrast, audience who prefer high-energy blockbuster with constant action may find the pacing more restrained than expected. From a genre preferences perspective, the movie directly targets crime thrillers and action enthusiasts. It feels comfortably within the tradition of South Korea crime cinema, which often blend brutality with psychological depth. Fans of police procedural, mob dramas, and serial killer thrillers are the natural audience. The film's structure, investigative pursuit combined with criminal alliance, satisfying viewers who enjoy layered genre storytelling. Additionally, international fans of Korean cinema represent an important target group. Over the past decade, South Korea films have gained a reputation for high production quality and emotionally intense narrative. Viewers who actively seek out Korean thrillers are likely to be drawn to this film because it delivers familiar genre strength, strong performances, moral complexity, and tightly choreographed action. It is also worth noting who the movie is not made for. It is not intended for viewers seeking romance, comedy, or uplifting storytelling. The emotional tone remains heavy throughout, and the narrative focuses on revenge, justice, and violence. Those sensitive to graphic crime themes or unsettling tension may find the experience uncomfortable. The film does not attempt to soften the edge for broader appeal. In summary, the target audience for this movie consists primarily of adult viewers with a strong interest in crime thriller, morally complex narrative, and realistic action. It appeals to fans of intense, action-driven storytelling rather than spectacle-based entertainment. Its age group skew toward mature audience. Its interest aligned with crime and psychological drama enthusiasts, and the genre preferences center firmly on gritty action thriller cinema. It promises an emotional experience rooted in tension, moral conflict, and the control intensity rather than sentimentality or spectacle. From the opening moment, the film establishes a moment that is heavy, suspenseful, and slightly unsettling. It does not aim to confront the audience, instead, it invites viewers into the world where violence feels immediate and justice is complicated. The dominant mood throughout the film is dark and pressurized. The urban setting, frequently shown at night, create a sense of constant threat. Shadow and confined spaces amplify discomfort. The pacing reinforces an atmosphere by alternating between quiet investigative scenes and sudden bursts of violence. Those tonal shifts are not random, they are designed to keep the audience emotionally alert. During slower moments, viewers feel anticipation building. When action erupts, it releases tension in sharp, forceful way. This rhythm creates a sustained emotional grip that rarely relaxes. Beyond surface level suspense, the movie carries strong thematic weight. One of its central themes is the blurred boundary between justice and revenge. The unlikely alliance between a gangster and a detective forces the audience to question traditional moral categories. The gangsters seek retaliation for a personal attack, while the cops seek legal closure as their goal overlap. Viewers are encouraged to reflect on whether motivation matters more than method. Is revenge over justice? Can a criminal act serve a moral purpose if it eliminates greater evil? These questions shape the emotional undertone of the story. Another important theme is the nature of evil itself. The serial killer character represents chaos without a clear moral code. His unpredictability contrasts with the structured world of organized crime and law enforcement. This dynamic intensifies the emotional experience because it presents three distinct forces: order, organized criminal logic, and a pure violence. The tension between these forces creates a sense of instability that runs beneath every scene. The film's intended impact is not just to thrill but to immerse viewers in a morally grey landscape. The character portrayed by Mangdan Seek, not correct in Mont Seek, the largest restart paragraph properly. The character portrayed by Bandung Seek brings a powerful emotional layer to the experience. His physical strength suggests dominance, but his character vulnerability after becoming a target shifts the emotional dynamic. Viewers may initially see him as intimidating, yet as the story progresses, they may feel a complex mix of respect and caution. The emotional response is not simply sympathy, it is layered with awareness of the criminal background. Directly wanted the film maintain emotional restraint rather than manipulating viewers with dramatic music or over sentimental cues. It allows situation to speak for themselves. Silence and stillness are used strategically, especially during moments involving the killer. This quiet approach heightens discomfort instead of loud shock tactics. The film relies on psychological unease. The intended impact is subtitle but persistent. Viewers feel tension rather than sudden fear. Emotionally, the film promises intensity without emotional warmth. There are no extended scenes of romance or family bonding to soften the narrative. The focus remains on pursuit and confrontation. This singular focus creates a sense of forward momentum that keeps viewers mentally engaged. It is the kind of experience where the audience leans forward rather than relax back. Another emotional dimension lies in power dynamic. Watching on Cope and Gangster negotiate cooperation create curiosity and suspense. Viewers may feel intrigue about who truly hold control at any momentum. The balance of power shifts subtly, and this uncertainty sustains emotional investment. The audience is encouraged to anticipate betrayal or unexpected scene, which heighten engagement. Ultimately, the movie promises an emotional journey defined by suspense, moral tension, and control aggression. It does not aim to leave viewers uplifted, instead, it aims to leave them thoughtfully and slightly unsettled. The mood remains consistently dark. The themes probe question of justice and evil, and the intended effect is to create sustained tension combined with intellectual reflection for audience who are appreciate intensity grounded in realism. The emotional experience is immersive and gripping from bringing to end. The film character dynamic is the true engine of the story. While the plot centered on a serial killer and investment, the emotional and thematic weight rests firmly on the interplay between the three character figures. Each represent a distinct archetype, yet none of them are portrayed in a completely traditional way. As a reviewer, what stands out most is how the film reshaped familiar character model into something more morally layered. Let's begin with the primary figure among the main characters, Jen Dong-soo, played by Mang Don-soo. He fit the archetype of the crime boss, but the film complicate that label almost immediately. Traditionally, a gangster in crime thriller is either a ruthless villain or a background force opposing law enforcement. Here, Dong-soo becomes something different, a wounding predator forced into vulnerability after surviving an attack by a serial killer. He shifts from aggressor to target. His personality traits are defined by physical dominance, control, anger, and strategic thinking. He does not speak excessively, nor does he waste energy on emotional outbursts. Instead, his authority is expressed through stillness and presence. There is a calculated quality to his behavior, yet beneath that composure lies pride. Being attacked is not just a physical wound, it is a blow to his reputation. This pride fuels his desire for revenge, making his motivation intensely personal. As a reviewer, I feel Dong-soo as an archetype of power. Destabilize a man accustomed to control, suddenly facing something he can't easily command. Opposite him stand Detective Jung Tae-soo, portrayed by Kim Mu-yeol. He embodies the relentless cop archetype but with sharper edge. Tae-soo is driven, impatient, and openly frustrated by bureaucracy. His personality trait includes stubbornness, aggression, and an uncompromising commitment to catching criminals. Unlike the gangster whose power stems from influence, stays youth authority is institutional yet limited. He represents lawful order, but he is not about bending rules. What makes Tae-soo compelling is his internal conflict. He despises Gangster, yet he must collaborate with one. This tension creates subtitle shift in his character. His struggle between professional duty and pragmatic necessity. From a reviewer perspective, Tae-soo functions as the moral anchor of the story, but an imperfect one. He is not portrayed as a shining hero. Instead, he is deeply human, shaped by frustration and ambition. Then there is the third force, Kang Kyung-ho, the serial killer, played by Kim Song-kyun. He represents the archetype of the devil, pure chaos within the narrative structure. Unlike the gangster and the cop whose action follows code, Kyung-ho operates without visible logic. His personality traits are chilling calmness, emotional detachment, and unpredictability. He does not seek power recognition in the traditional sense. His violence appears almost methodical, stripped of dramatic flair. As a reviewer, I find Kyung-ho characterization effective because of its restraint. The performance avoids exaggerated villain theatrics. Instead, the menace comes from subtlety. He is still calm and quiet demeanor create discomfort. He does not dominate scenes through loudness but through absence of empathy. In many crime films, villains are charismatic or flamboyant. Here, the lack of overt personality becomes the defining trait, making him feel disturbingly real. The dynamic between these three main characters create a triangular tension. The gangster seeks revenge, the cop seeks justice, and the killer embodies chaos. Each represents an archetype: crime lord, law enforcer, psychopath, but the film blurred their boundaries. The gangster shows strategic discipline, the cop display aggression bordering an obsession. The killer maintain era composure. Their interaction are less about dialogue heavy exchange and more about power shift. Ultimately, the strength of the film lies in how these archetypes collide. None of the main characters are simplified into pure heroes or villains. Instead, they operate within shades of grey. From reviewer's standpoint, this layer characterization elevates the movie beyond a standard action thriller. From a reviewer's standpoint, this layer characterization elevates the movie beyond a standard action thriller. It transforms what could have been a straightforward pursuit story into a study of power, pride, morality, and psychological tension. The acting performances are not simply functional, they are the emotional backbone of the entire experience. While the film is structured as a crime thriller, its true power lies in how conveniently the actor embody tension, authority, and psychological imbalance. The performance elevate what could have been a straightforward action narrative into something fair, more immersive. Starting with the lead actor, Man Dong-soo deliver a commanding and emotionally layered portrait of Jan Jang Do-so. Physically, he dominates the screen. His presence alone changes the energy of any scene. But what makes his performance stand out is just brute strength. It is restrained. He rarely overacts. His anger is controlled. His speech measured, and his actions subtitle. Even when violence erupts, it feels grounded rather than theatrical. Emotionally, Ma Dong-soo Seek brings a quiet vulnerability to a character who could easily have been one dimensional. After receiving an attack, Dong-soo pride is wounded more deeply than his body. The actor communicates this humiliation through silence and controlled expression rather than dramatic speeches. You can feel the weight of insult in his posture, in the way he holds eye contact, in the tension of his jaw. It is an understated performance that relies heavily on physicality and presence. Opposite him, Kim Mu-yeol portrayed Detective Jung Tae-soo with sharp intensity, where Man Dong-soo is controlled and grounded. Kim Mo-yeol is fiery and kinetic. His performance carries urgency. He moves quickly, speaks sharply, and reacts emotionally. There is a visible frustration in his eyes, frustration with criminal, with system, and sometimes even with himself emotionally. Kim Mu-yeol adds tension to every scene he shares with a gangster. His character dismisses organized crime, yet he must rely on it. This conflict shows in subtitle glance and restrained irritation. He does not soften his character to make him more likable. Instead, he embraces the rough edges. That authenticity makes the performance believable. The detective feel driven and flawed rather than heroic in a polished sense. Then there is a chilling contribution of Kim Song Kyu as the serial killer. His performance operates on a completely different emotional frequency, while the other two lead project force, one physical, one emotional. Kim Seong Kyu embodies stillness. His calmness is deeply unsettling. He avoids exaggerated villain expression. Instead, he maintains a neutral face, controlled breathing, and quiet speech. Emotionally, his restraint becomes the source of fear. There is no dramatic outburst, no grand villain monologue. The horror lies in how ordinary he appears. His blank stare and subtitle shift in expression create unease. As our reviewers, you sense unpredictability behind that calm surface. It is a performance built on minimalism, and that minimalism make it disturbingly effective. The sporting cast, while not as prominently featured, strengthened the film realism. Police officer, gang members, and secondary figures feel grounded and then exaggerated. Their reaction to events, shock, fear, loyalty, help create a believable world around the central tier. Even brief performance add texture to the narrative, preventing it from feeling staged or artificial. What truly elevates the acting is the chemistry between the leads. The dynamic between Man Dong-soo and the Kim Mu-yeol is built on tension rather than warmth. Their conversation feel like negotiation between opposing forces. You can sense mutual distrust layer over reluctant cooperation. That friction create energy in otherwise quiet scenes. They do not need dramatic confrontation to generate drama. Their body language does much of the work. The contrast between two leads and the villains further intensify the emotional impact. One represents control, power, another aggressive determination, and the third silent chaos. Watching these emotional style collide create a compelling triangle of performance. Overall, the acting performance carries both emotional weight and psychological depth. The lead actors anchor the film with concentrating, contrasting energy, while the supporting cast enhance authenticity. The chemistry is not friendly or sentimental, it is tensed, uneasy, and purposeful. That tension is precisely what makes the performance memorable and emotionally engaging from start to finished. The film stands out within the crime thriller genre largely because of its grounded realism and the layered depth of its character rather than relying on exaggerated spectacle or dramatic twist alone. The film build its impact through believable motivation, steady character development, and control emotional range. The realism does not come from documentary style storytelling but from the way the character behave, react, and evolve within a harsh and possible world. When examining character development, the most noticeable strength in how the main figure shifts subtly rather than dramatically. And the Jang Dong-so, portrayed by Man Dok-seok, bring as a powerful crime boss who appears nearly untouchable. His authority is unquestioned with his organization. However, after becoming the target of a serial killer, his position changed. He is no longer just a predator of the criminal hierarchy. He becomes a victim of random violence. This shift does not transform him into a different person, but it exposes vulnerability beneath his hardened exterior. His development is rooted in pride and survival rather than moral awakening. That restraint in transformation make his arc feel realistic. He does not suddenly become heroic or compassionate. He remains who he is, but within a sharp focused. Detective Jung Tae-soo, played by Kim Mo-yeol, also demonstrates grounded development. He begins as a determined but impulsive investigator frustrated by bureaucracy. As the narrative unfolds, his alliance with a gangster forced him into uncomfortable moral territory. His growth is not dramatic redemption but pragmatic adaptation. He remains aggressive and driven, yet he learns to cooperate strategically. This evaluation feels believable because it stems from necessity rather than ideology. The film avoids turning into a symbolic hero. Instead, he is portrayed as a professional navigating complex circumstances. Believability is one of the film's strongest qualities. The criminal underworld is not romanticized. Gang operations are presenting as structured but practical rather than glamorous. Police procedure, while condensed for cinematic pacing, feel possible within the story framework. The serial killer portrayed by Kim Song-kyu is especially effective in maintaining realism. He is not depreciating as a mastermind with collaborate scheme or theoretical behavior. His violence is simple, direct, and disturbingly ordinary. That ordinariness enhances credibility. The film does not attempt to mythologize him. Instead, it represents him as an unpredictable individual capable of calculated brutality. The emotional range within the film is intentionally controlled. Character rarely engage in dramatic outbursts or extended emotional monologue. Instead, their feelings are communicated through subtitle, gangster restraint, expression. Dong-so anger, appearance, tighten posture, and quiet threat rather than shooting. Tu-soo frustration is visible in his restless movement and sharp tone. The killer emptiness is expressed through calm detachment. This limited but focused emotional spectrum enhanced realism, but it mirrors how individuals in high stake environment often suppress rather than display emotion. And other element contributed to depth is the moral ambiguity embedded in each character. No one is entirely virtuous. The gangster commits crime, the detective blend rules, and the killer operate with the consequence. The film does not attempt to justify their action completely, nor does it simplify them into stereotype. Instead, it allows their motivation to exist in shades of gray. That complexity encourages viewer to reflect rather than passively consume. From a broader perspective, the film realism is reinforced by its stylistic choice. Action sequences rely on physical choreography instead of exaggerated visual effect. Injuries have consequence. Confrontation feel heavy rather than stylized. This grounded approach strengthens the believability of the character experience and reaction. Ultimately, the depth of the film lie in its restrained character development is subtitle but meaningful. Emotional range is limited but purposeful. Motivation are clear without being oversimplified. By avoiding exaggerated transformation arc and over dramatic storytelling, the movie maintained a consistent sense of realism. It portrayed individuals shaped by power, pride, and survival instincts rather than thematic idealism. That commitment to believable character behavior gave the narrative emotional weight and credibility from beginning to end. It was produced with an estimated budget in the range of approximately 6 to 7 million US dollar within the South Korea film industry. This places the project in the mid-tier commercial category. It is neither a low-cost independent production nor a large-scale blockbuster with expensive international financing. Instead, it represents a controlled, strategically allocated investment aimed at delivering strong production value without excessive financial risk. When examining cost range in context, South Korea crime and action films commonly operate between 5 million and 15 million dollars depending on scale, casting, and the action films commonly operate between 5 million 15 million dollars depending on scale, casting, and technical demand. Historical epics ka large digester films or CGI heavy spectacle can exceed this range, but grounded urban thrillers typically fall toward the low to mid section of that spectrum. Within a budget around 6 to 7 million dollars, these films sit comfortably within the efficient commercial range for its genre. A substantial portion of the budget would have been directed toward above the line expensive. These include lead actor, the director, procedure, and the key creative personnel. The castings of Man Dong-soo are recognized box office presence likely require a competitive salary package. Lead talent compensation in mid-budget films can account for a meaningful share of total spending, especially when the actor's name play a significant role in marketing and international sales. Another core area of resource allocation involve production operations. Urban locations, filming, night shots, and coordinated action sequence require permits, logistical planning, and security management. Although the film does not rely heavily on large scale CGI effect, it does not feature numerous practical fight scenes and stage confrontation. These sequences required professional stunt coordination, rehearsal time, safety supervision, and additional insurance coverage. Practical action filmmaking often redistribute funds from digital effect into physical choreography and crew expertise. Technical department also represents steady financial commitment. Cinematography, lighting, equipment rental, sound recording, transportation, and dressing contribute consistently to the overall cost structure. The film's dark, controlled visual style suggests deliberate lighting design and careful drama work rather than improvisational shooting. Even without elaborate sets, maintaining a consistent urban aesthetic required detail planning and experienced crew member. Post production form another essential cost components. Editing, sound design, musical scoring, color grading, and final mastering are crucial for crime thrillers, while pacing and tension are central to audience engagement. While these processing may not represent the largest portion of the budget, they significantly influence the film's final quality. A well balanced allocation toward post production ensures narrative clarity and tonal consistency. Importantly, the estimated $6 to $7 million figure generally reflect production expenses only. Marketing and distribution costs are typically calculated separately. Promotional campaigns, international festival screening, and distribution agreement may involve additional financial commitment beyond the core production budget. These expenses are often shared between production companies and distributors. From an analytical standpoint, the budget appears proportionate to the film's scale and ambition. The project prioritized strong performances, practical action, and grounded storytelling rather than visual extravagance. This intricate strategic resource allocation model focuses on performance driven engagement rather than spectacle driven spending. The film production budget falls within a moderate commercial range, carefully distributed across talent, practical action, coordination, technical department, and post production refinement. The allocation reflects discipline, financial planning aligned with genre expectation rather than pursuing blockbuster scale expenditure. The production invests selectively in areas that direct sport realism, action, and performance quality. The films perform solidly at the domestic box office in South Korea, especially when considered within its genre and rating category. During its theatrical run, the film earned approximately 24 to 25 million US dollar in the South Korea market. In terms of admission, it attracted over 3 million moviegoers. In the Korean film industry, admissions are often viewed as a more meaningful indicator of performance than raw revenue, since ticket prices can vary. Crossing the 3 million admission mark generally signals a commercially successful release, particularly for a crime thriller with an adult rating. Looking at the region specifically, South Korea has a competitive theatrical environment where domestic production regularly compete with large Hollywood blockbusters. In 2019, the market included major international releases alongside high-profile Korean films. For a mid-budget crime thriller to ensure a strong opening and maintain audience interest in such an environment demonstrate notable domestic support. The film opened at number one during its debut period, even outperforming some major international competition at the time. That early dominance helped establish momentum. Audience trend in South Korea also provide context. Crime thrillers tend to attract adults viewers rather than family audience. Unlike family or comedies or large-scale disaster films, which often draw viewers across multiple age groups, a violent serial killer narrative appeal primarily to the mature demographic. This narrow target audience naturally limit total box office ceilings compared to broadly accessible films. Despite that limitation, surpassing 3 million admissions suggests strong word of mouth and sustained interest beyond opening weekend curiosity. When compared to the highest grossing Korean film of 2019, the film number appear moderate rather than record breaking. Some domestic blockbusters in that year exceed 10 million admissions, significantly higher revenue total. However, those films often had broader theme, lighter tone, or ensemble cast designed for wide public appeal. In contrast, this film maintained a darker tone, restricted narrating, which generally reduced audience scale. Therefore, within its specific genre category, the performance can be considered commercially healthy. It is also important to consider production scale, with an estimated budget in the mid-range for Korean action films. The domestic gross significantly exceed production costs. That ratio indicate financial efficiency for mid-budget thrillers. Strong domestic performance is often critical to profitability before international sales are factored in. In this sense, the domestic market provided a solid foundation for overall financial success. Comparatively, other Korean crime thriller released in Similar year have ranged widely in admission depending on star power and competition. Films with established actors and strong marketing campaigns can approach 4 to 5 million admission, while smaller projects may struggle to reach 1 million, falling above the 3 million mark. Place this title comfortably in the upper tier of genre specific success, even if it does not reach all-time blockbuster status. Another relevant trend is the continued audience interest in morally complex crime narrative within South Korea. Viewers have shown consistent support for films that blend action with psychological tension. This cultural repetitiveness likely contributed to the film's stable theatrical run. Rather than collapsing after the first week, it maintains steady attendance, suggesting that its appeal extended beyond its initial marketing push. The domestic box office performance reflects strong regional support within a competitive market. While not among the highest grossing film of its year, it achieved impressive result for an adult rated crime thriller. Considering its gender limitation, audience demographic, and budget scale, the domestic earning demonstrate commercial success and alignment with prevailing audience trend in South Korea. It generated notable international earning beyond its domestic success, demonstrating the expanding global reach of South Korea genre cinema. While the majority of its revenue came from South Korea, the film also secured meaningful return from overseas market, bringing its worldwide gross to roughly 25 to 30 million US dollar. This indicates that international territories contributed several million dollars in additional revenue, a solid result for a mid-budget crime thriller. From a regional perspective, the stronger international support typically came from Asia market, where Korean film already have established audience bases. Countries such as Japan, Taiwan, Hong Kong, and part of Southeast Asia often respond positively to Korean action and crime narrative. These regions share cultural familiarity with Korean style and storytelling style, which help reduce market entry barriers in such territories. The film likely benefit from the popularity of its lead actor Dong-soo, who has delivered recognition beyond South Korea. North America also play a role in the film's international performance, though on a smaller scale compared to the domestic earnings. Korean language film in the United States and Canada often rely on a limited theatrical release, targeting urban centers with strong Asian diaspora communities and art house audience. Crime thrillers with intense action tend to attract niche viewers who actively seek international cinema. The film greatly premised and strong festival exposure help generate awareness through this attendance segment. European market provide additional visibility, particularly following its screening at the Cannes Film Festival. Festival premium can significantly enhance films' international profiles. Being showcased in a globally recognized revenue often signal quality and increase distributor interest. While festival exposure does not guarantee massive commercial return, it strengthens credibility and can lead to distribution agreement in multiple territories. In this case, the film's presence at Cannes likely improve marketing leverage and expand its reach into art house across Europe. Market reception internationally was generally positive, with genre communities. Action thriller fans appreciated the practical fight choreography and morally complex narrative. However, the film's restricted rating and dark subject matter naturally limited its appeal to mainstream family audience. As a result, its international performance reflects targeted success rather than broad commercial dominance. It performed well relatively to its scale and generally did not approach blockbuster territory outside its home country. Marketing impact also play an important role in shaping international results. Overseas campaign for foreign language films are typically more focused and cost effective than domestic promotions. Rather than large scale advertising, international market often rely on festival boosts, critical review, trailer circulation through digital platform and word of mouth within genre communities. This involvement of recognizable lead actor and the film's straightforward high concept title help make it accessible to global audience without requiring extensive localization. Additionally, global interest in Korean film has steadily grown in steady recent years. Audience worldwide have become more open to subtitle films, especially with thriller and action genres. This broader trend likely supported the film's international reception. Viewers familiar with Korean crime storytelling expectation were more willing to engage with another entry in that space. The film's international box office performance reflects steady expansion rather than explosive growth. Strong regional support in Asia, targeted niche audience in North America and Europe, and festival-driven marketing all contributed to the overseas earning. While domestic revenue maintained the foundation of its financial success, the international market provided valuable supplementary income and strengthened the film's global presence within the crime thriller genre. The Gangster, the Cop, the Devil achieved a worldwide gross of approximately 25 to 30 million US dollar. By analyzing this figure, it is important to understand what worldwide gross represents and how it relates to financial break-even. Worldwide gross include total theoretical earning from both domestic and international market combined. In that case, the majority of revenue came from the domestic market with contribution from Asia, North America, and parts of the Europe. From a global audience perspective, the film reflects strong regional support and moderate international penetration. Over 3 million admissions were recorded in South Korea alone, forming the backbone of its revenue. Overseas markets add supplementary income supported by festival exposure and genre-driven interest. While the film did not become a global blockbuster, it successfully reached audience beyond its home country, contributing to a balanced revenue profile. To understand break-even, the production budget must be considered alongside distribution and marketing costs. The film estimated production budget was approximately 6 to 7 million US dollars. However, production cost alone does not determine profitability. Marketing campaigns, promotional materials, prints, digital distribution, logistics, and theaters revenue split significantly affect the final financial outcome. In most theatrical model, box office revenue is divided between theaters and distributors. On average, a film might receive around 40 to 50% of the ticket sales after a theater costs through percentage vary by region and contract term. This means that if the film grossed roughly 20 to 30 million dollar worldwide, the distributor's share may have been closer to 12 to 15 million dollar in actual return revenue. From that amount, marketing and distribution expense must be deducted before calculating net profit. Distribution costs include advertising, trailer production, media placement, festival fees, subtitling, dubbing, and international sales commission. For mid-budget films, marketing expense can range from 2 to 5 million dollars domestically, with additional targeting spending in overseas territory. Even with conservative estimate, total cost could reasonably approach 10 to 12 million dollars. Giving these calculations, the break-even threshold likely required worldwide box office revenue of approximately 18 to 20 million dollars to ensure recovery of total investment. Within a global gross exceeding that range, the film appeared to have surpassed break-even and enter profitability. While not an enormous financial windfall, it's achieved healthy return relatively to its scale. Additional revenue streams further strengthen the financial pictures. Beyond theatrical release, the film generates income through streaming rights, television licensing, digital rentals, Blu-rays and DVD sales, and international remake rights. Crime thriller with strong critical reception often perform well in secondary market. Digital platform in particularly provide extended life cycle earning. Licensing agreement with global streaming service can add significant post theatrical revenue, sometimes covering a meaningful portion covering a meaningful portion of the production cost independently. Another factor contributing to financial sustainability is international recognition. Festival exposure increase long-term market value and enhance sale in ancillary market. The film's international visibility likely improved its streaming and home media performances, contributed to cumulative revenue beyond theoretical numbers. In conclusion, with a wild gross of approximately 25 to 30 million dollars against a production budget near 6 to 7 million, the films demonstrate efficient financial performance after accounting for distribution cost and revenue split. It likely achieved break-even and generated moderate profit. Its global audience reach combined with diversified revenue stream position it as commercially successful mid-budget crime thriller rather than high-risk blockbuster venture. It represents a strong case study in mid-budget profitability to determine whether the film was financially successful. We must look carefully at revenue versus cost, ancillary income stream, and overall return on investment rather than focusing only on the headline worldwide gross. A balanced profitability analysis consider how much of that revenue actually returned to the producer after expenses. The film estimated production budget was approximately 6 to 7 million US dollar. This places it in the mid-range category for South Korea commercial cinema, higher than many independent production but significantly lower than large-scale action blockbuster. However, production cost alone does not represent total invest. Marketing and distribution expenses must also be included. Promotional campaigns, trailer poster, media placement, festival positioning, subtitling for international markets, and logistics can add several millions dollars. A reasonable estimate would place total combined cost in the range of 9 to 12 million dollars. On the revenue side, the film earned roughly 25 to 30 million dollars worldwide at the box office. It performed especially well in South Korea, where admission exceed 3 million viewers. International markets contributed additional earnings, particularly in Asia and select Western territories where crime thriller attract niche but loyal audience. However, box office gross is not equal to studio revenue. Theaters owners typically retain around 50% of the ticket sale, with variation depending on region and contractual arrangement. This means that from a worldwide gross of approximately 25 to 30 million dollars, the distributor share may have been closer to 12 to 15 million dollars when compared against total estimated cost of around 9 to 12 million dollars. The film likely recovered its investment and generational moderate profit. Ancillary income significantly strengthened this financial position. After theatrical release, film generate revenue through digital rentals, streaming licensing, television broadcast right, DVD and Blu-ray sales, and international distribution agreements. South Korean thrillers often perform well on global streaming platforms due to the growing international popularity of Korean cinema. Licensing deal alone can add millions in post-theatrical revenue, particularly if the film receives strong viewers or word of mouth. Another important financial component is remake and adaptation right. Crime thrillers with clear narrative framework are attractive for international market. Even the sale of remake right can generate additional revenue streams that do not require substantial new investment from the original procedures. When calculating ROI, we compare net profit to total investment. If we conservatively estimate the net profit at several million dollars after cost recovery, the ROI would likely fall between 20 and 40%. For a mid-budget film, this represents a healthy return. While it did not achieve blockbuster level margin, it appeared to have delivered stable and respectable financial performances. Profitability must also be viewed in context. Mid-budget genre films aim for controlled risk rather than explosive global dominance. By keeping production cost manageable and targeting a defined audience base, the film reduced financial exposure. Its strong domestic performance ensured cost recovery while international sales and ancillary income provided upside potential. In conclusion, based on estimated revenue versus cost, supplementary ancillary income, and projected ROI, the film can reasonably be classified as profitable. It demonstrates the effectiveness of disciplined budget, budgeting, genre targeting, and strategic distribution rather than chasing massive global spectacle. It succeeds through focused production design, efficient cost control, and reliable audience management. The film generated strong and often enthusiastic audience reaction, particularly among viewers who appreciate gritty crime thriller. Audience response can be best understood through three angles: demographic, viewers' feedback pattern, and overall engagement level. From a demographic standpoint, the film resonated most strongly with adult audience, particularly those in their 20s to 40s. Crime thrillers traditionally appeal to viewers who enjoy intense storytelling, moral complexity, and physical action. In the South Korea, male audience formed a large portion of the theatrical turnout, especially during opening weeks. However, the film also attracted female viewers who were drawn to its psychological tension and character driven storytelling than just violence. Internationally, the audience skewed towards gender enthusiastic people who actively follow Asian cinema, noir style crime drama, and morally ambiguous narrative. Viewers' feedback consistently highlighted the dynamic between the central character as a major strength. Audience appreciated the unusual alliance between a crime boss and a police detective, describing it as tense, unpredictable, and compelling. Many viewers noted that the partnership created a fresh twist on the familiar serial killer thriller formula. Rather than presenting a straightforward hero versus villain structure, the film complicated expectation, and this complexity was frequently praised in audience discussion. Another consistent element in viewer reaction was appreciation for the film pacing. Many audience members described the movie as tightly structured with minimal filler. The forward momentum kept viewer engaged from start to finish. The action sequences were often described as impactful rather than excessive. Instead of overwhelming the audience, expected the film focus on sharp bursts of violence that reinforced the story's intense. Engagement level were also boosted by the presence of a well-known lead actor whose physical presence and charisma carry much of the film's emotional weight. Viewers frequently commented on how convincing and commanding he appeared on screen. His performance gave a tender audience someone to anchor their experience to, even when the moral lines between characters becomes blurred. Online discussion revealed that audience particularly enjoyed the film's tonal balance. It combined brutality with moments of dark humor and character interaction that preventing it from feeling relentlessly bleak. This tonal variation allowed viewers to process the tension without emotional exhaustion. Audience members often describe the movie as entertaining but serious, which reflect how effectively it balanced genre thriller with grounded storytelling. However, reactions were not universally positive. Some viewers felt that the serial killer characters were intentionally underdeveloped, serving more as symbolic force of chaos than a fully explored personality. While many appreciated the stylistic choice, others wanted deeper psychological insight into the antagonist. A portion of viewers also felt that certain plot development followed similar genre pattern even if executed competently. Despite this criticism, engagement remains strong. Word of mouth played an important role in sustaining theatrical attendance. Viewers recommended the film to friends who enjoy crime drama, and social media conservation offered focus on memorable scenes and confrontation. The film's straightforward runtime and focused narrative made it accessible, encouraging repeat viewing among genre fans. International engagement was influenced by the growing global interest in Korean cinema. Alongside alongside South Korea approached the film with curiosity about its style and storytelling approach. Many international viewers praised its raw energy and directness, comparing it favorably to Western crime thriller while noting its distinctly Korean tone and character dynamic. Overall, general audience reaction can be described as positively engaged and genre aligned. While it did not aim to appeal to all demographics, it successfully captured the attention of crime thriller fan and adult viewers seeking intensity, moral tension, and strong performance through compiling character interplay, discipline, pacing, and demographic atmospheric threat. The film generated meaningful audience involvement and sustained viewer discussion well beyond its theatrical run. The Gangster, the Co-op, the Devil offer an interesting example of how box office performance shape public and critical perception. While artistic value and storytelling quality are central to any film's identity, financial performance often influence how the movie is remembered, discussed, and positioned within its genre. First, critical reception. When a film performs strongly at the box office, critics sometimes re-examine it through the lens of cultural relevance. A commercially successful release suggests that the movie resonated with audience, which can reinforce the idea that it captures something timely or compelling. In this case, solid domestic earnings signal that the film connected with Korean viewers, strengthening its credibility as more than just a niche thriller. Even for critics who may have had reservation about certain narrative choices, the financial success demonstrated that the film struck a chord with mainstream audience. Box office performance can also amplify positive critical reception. When a crime thriller earns strong ticket sale revenue, often highlights its accessibility and entertainment value rather than being categorized strictly as a dark or limited art house project. It gained recognition as a broadly appealing genre entry. This shift in perception can relate the film's reputation beyond specialized circles and position it as a notable release within its years. Studio reputation is another key factor shaped by commercial outcome. A notable film reinforces confidence in the production company's strategic choice, budget allocation, casting discussion, and marketing focus. Mid-budget genre film carry inherited financial risk, but once succeed, it signals that the studio understands its audience. This can increase investor confidence and improve the company's standing in its domestic industry. For international partners, strong box office numbers also suggest relatability, making future co-production deals or distribution agreement more attractive. The film's financial performance also influences how it compares with its genre. Crime thrillers often compete in a crowded market filled with serial killer narrative and morally ambiguous protagonists. A strong box office run help distinguish a film from its pirate. Instead of being seen as just another thriller, it being categorized as one of the more commercially validated entries in its genre cycle. This can elevate its perceived importance when audience or critics later discuss modern Korean crime cinema. Genre comparisons become comparatively relative when evaluating longevity. A financial successful thriller is more likely to be referenced in discussion about standout performances, iconic character pairing, or influential narrative structure. Strong earning gives the impression that the film mattered in its culture moment. Conversely, even well-reviewed films that underperform commercially sometimes fade from mainstream memory. In this way, financial results contribute to long-term visibility. International perception is also shaped by revenue performance. When a South Korea film performs well domestically and secure overseas distribution, it enhances global confidence in Korean genre cinema. International audience may intercept box office success as a sign of quality or cultural impact. International audience may intercept box office success as a sign of quality or cultural impact. This reception can lead to greater curiosity about similar film from the same industry, strengthening the broader reputation of Korean thriller worldwide. However, box office success does not guarantee universal praise. Some viewers and critics remain skeptical of equating commercial performance with artistic merit. In certain circles, financial success may even lead to accusation of formulaic storytelling or mainstream appeal. Yet, in this case, the film's combination of solid earning and respectable reviews created a balanced perception. It was neither dismissed as purely commercial nor isolated as purely artistic. Ultimately, box office performance play a significant role in shaping how a film is perceived over time. Strong revenue reinforce credibility, enhance studio reputation, and elevate the movie within genre comparison. For this film, its commercial stability strengthens its standing as a noteworthy crime thriller rather than fleeting release. Financial validation combined with audience engagement and critical recognition position it as a commercially and culturally meaningful entry in modern Korean cinema. The Gangster, the Cop, the Devil stand as confident and tightly constructed crime thriller that understands exactly what it wants to be. From a reviewer's perspective, its strength lies not in reinventing the genre but in refining familiar elements with position, intensity, and strong performances. In terms of cinematic quality, the film is disciplined and focused. The direction avoid unnecessary stylistic excess and instead lean into controlled tension. The camera work emphasizes physical presence and spatial awareness, particularly during confrontation scene. Close framing during dialogue sequence creates psychological pressure, while wider shoot during action moment allow the choreography to breathe. The pacing is one of the film's strongest assets. It moves steadily without feeling rushed, building suspense through character interaction rather than rely slowly on shocking twists. The narrative remains straightforward, but it will never feel simplistic. Production value is impressively balanced for a mid-budget thriller. The film does not depend on large-scale spectacle, yet it feels polished and deliberate. Urban settings are portrayed with grit and authenticity, reinforcing the dark tone. Lighting choices favor shadow and contrast, enhancing the moral ambiguity at the center of the story. The action sequences are not overproduced, instead, they are grounded and impactful. Each violent moment feels purposeful rather than decorative. The film's sound design also deserves recognition. Punches, footsteps, and environmental noise add texture, making the physical encounter feel immediate and tangible. Performance wise, the film is carried by its lead actor, whose commanding screen presence anchored the entire narrative. His portrayal of crime boss forced into an uneasy alliance with law enforcement is layered with both menace and surprising restraint. He brings weight to every scene, often communicating dominance through subtitle shift in posture or gaze rather than exaggerated emotion. His performance adds credibility to a character who could easily have become a caricature in lesser hands. The supporting cast complement this central performance effectively. The actor portraying the determined detective provide a strong counterbalance. His intensity contrasts within the gangster calculated composure, creating a dynamic that drives the film's tension. Their chemistry is perhaps the most engaging aspect of the movie. The uneasy partnership between them generate both conflict and reluctant respect, which keep the story emotionally interesting even when the plot follow familiar crime thriller pattern. The antagonist, however, is where opinions may drive. The serial killer characters in intentionally minimalistic portray more as a force of chaos than a deeply explored personality. On one hand, this approach strengthens the film's mythic quality, allowing the focus to remain on the unlikely alliance at the center. On the other hand, some viewers may find the lack of psychological depth limiting a more detailed exploration of the antagonist's motivation might have added additional complexity. Thematically, the film explored blur moral boundaries. It questioned the distinction between law and crime, suggesting that justice can sometimes require cooperation between opposing force. Loyalty, pride, and survival are recurring motifs. The story does not offer heavy philosophical commentary, but it subtly reflects on the idea that morality is often shaped by circumstances. This thematic restraint work in the film's favor. It avoids overstatement while still providing meaningful subtext. Among its strengths are tight pacing, strong central performances, atmospheric tension, and disciplined production design. Its weaknesses lies primarily in predictability with uncertain plot development and limited depth for secondary character. While the film's execute genre convention with skills, it rarely surprises in terms of narrative structure. Overall, the film succeeds because it knows the limits and works confidently within them. It delivers a gripping performance-driven thriller and prioritizes tension and character dynamic over spectacle. While it may not revolutionize its genre, it stands as a solid, engaging, and professionally crafted entry that leaves a casting impression through its control, intensity, and powerful lead performances. The Gangster, The Cop, The Devil is a film that speaks very rarely to a very specific kind of viewers. It does not attempt to please everyone, and that is precisely why it works so effectively for the audience it targets. When considering who should and should not watch this movie, it is important to think about audience type, genre preferences, age group, and emotional expectation. There is a gritty crime thriller built on tension, violence, moral ambiguity, and character driven conflict. For the right viewers, it delivers a powerful and satisfying experience. For character, it may feel intense, unsettling, or emotionally heavy. First, this movie is highly recommended for adult audience who enjoy crime thrillers grounded in realism, viewers who appreciate dark urban setting, morally complex character, and psychological tension will likely find this film engaging from beginning to end. The story revolves around an unusual alliance between a gangster and a police detective as they hunt a brutal serial killer. This premised alone signal that the film explored blurred moral lines rather than clear-cut heroism. If you are someone who enjoys stories where protagonist operates in shades of gray instead of black and white morality, this film will resonate strongly. Gender preferences play a major role in determining enjoyment. Fans of crime, drama, serial killer narrative, and intense investigation thrillers are the ideal audience. The pacing is light and deliberate, focusing on confrontation and strategy rather than spectacle. The action scenes are impactful but not exaggerated. They feel grounded, physical, and sometimes uncomfortable. Viewers who appreciate control, silence used to enhance tension rather than entertain casually will connect with the film's tone. On the other hand, audience looking for fast-paced blockbuster action filled with visual effect and explosive set pieces may find this movie comparatively restrained. This film is especially suitable for viewers in the 20 to 45 age range, although mature older audience who enjoy crime cinema will also appreciate it. The emotional and thematic weight require a level of maturity. It deals with brutality, corruption, pride, loyalty, and survival. Younger viewers, particularly teenagers who are sensitive to graphic content, may find the violence disturbing. The film does not glamorize brutality, but it does not soften it either. The mood is intense and often grim, demanding emotional resilience from the audience. Another key audience type for this film include viewers who enjoy character-driven storytelling. While the killer elements drive the plot, the heart of the movie lies in the uneasy partnership between the gangster and the cop. Their interactions are filled with tension, rivalry, and reluctant of cooperation. If you are a kind of viewer who enjoy values strong performances and subtitle character dynamic over plot twist, you will likely appreciate the emotional depth of their relationship. The chemistry between these two opposing figures create much of the film suspense. International audience who follow Korean cinema will also find this movie rewarding. Korean thrillers are known for blending emotional intensity with sharp storytelling, and this film continues that tradition. Viewers who admire Korean crime films for their grit and disciplined pacing will recognize familiar strength here. However, if someone is unfamiliar with this style and expect Western style procedural storytelling, the tone may feel darker and more morally complex than anticipated. Emotionally, this film is designed to create tension and unease rather than comfort. It is not uplifting or inspirational. It does not aim to provide warmth or sentimental closure. Instead, it invites viewers into a harsh world where justice is complicated and alliances are fragile. Audience seeking feel good entertainment, romance, or humor driven storytelling should probably look elsewhere. While there are moments of dark humor, they are subtitled and secondary to the overall intensity. The movie is also ideal for viewers who appreciate themes of power dynamic and pride. The gangster character operate with authority and self-respect, while the detective is driven by duty and determination. Watching these personalities collide often an emotionally layered experience. Viewers enjoy examining how different moral systems interact under pressure will find this dynamic fascinating. The emotional resonance comes not from over sentiment but from the tension of two strong personalities forced to work together. However, the film may not suit viewers who prefer highly original narrative structure for unpredictable storytelling. While it executes its genre convention very effectively, it does not follow recognized crime thriller framework. Those seeking experimental crime cinema or deeply philosophical exploration may find it straightforward. Its strength lies in execution rather than innovation. For viewers who enjoy intense atmosphere, control, pacing, and powerful screen presence, this movie offers a gripping experience. The production style supports its tone, using shadow lighting and realistic setting to maintain immersion. The mood is consistently serious and emotional journey centered on determination, rivalry, and survival rather than transformation or redemption. The film is strongly recommended for mature audience who enjoy crime thriller with moral complexity and grounded action. It is best suited for viewers who appreciate action driven storytelling, strong performances, and gritty realism. It is not recommended for younger audience viewers sensitive to violence or those seeking light entertainment, since emotional impact lies in its intensity and character dynamic, make it a rewarding experience for the right audience who potentially overwhelming for others. It also deserves deeper consideration when we expand the discussion of who should and should not watch it beyond genre, fan, and mature audience. There are more specific viewers categories that will either connect strongly with the films or feel disconnected from its tone and style. For viewers who enjoy power-driven character story studies, this film is particularly compelling. The central dynamic is not simply about catching a thriller, it is about dominance, ego, territory, and respect. The gangster is not portrayed as a cartoon villain, nor is the detective presenting as a flawless hero. Instead, both characters operate within system of authority that define their identity. If you are an audience member who enjoy watching character negotiate power through dialogue, body language, and strategy, you will find this film deeply satisfying. Much of its emotional resonance comes from subtitle shift in control between these two men. Another audience type that will appreciate the film is viewers who favor tension over spectacle. The movie builds suspense through anticipation rather than surprise. It does not rely heavily on shocking twists or sudden narrative reversals. Instead, it creates a steady psychological pressure that increases scene by scene. For those who value slow burning tension and deliberate pacing, this structure feels immersive and mature. However, viewers who require constant surprise or rapid tonal shift may find the progression predictable. The emotional tone is serious and grounded. The film does not romanticize crime, nor does it present violence in glamorous. It portrays brutality as harsh and consequential. As a result, it resonates most with audience who prefer realism in crime storytelling. If you are someone who appreciates authenticity in fight scenes where physical conflict look painful and messy rather than choreographed for beauty, you will likely admire the film's commitment to grit. But viewers who prefer stylized action or highly choreographed sequence may feel that the film realism limits its entertainment value. Age group remain an important factor. While technically older teenagers may be able to watch it, the emotional themes are best understood by adults. The movie explores ideas of pride, territorial control, and survival within corrupt system. There are mature themes that benefit from life experience. Viewers in their late 20s and beyond may relate more strongly to the underlying commentary about authority and compromise. The story does not revolve around youth, romance, or personal growth arc typical of stronger targeted film. Instead, it focuses on hardened adult navigating a violent world. The film is for people who enjoy ambiguous storytelling. In many crime drama, audience are encouraged for to clearly spot law enforcement while commending criminal. Here the moral boundaries are intentionally blurred. The gangster becomes a temporary allying in pursuit of a greater threat. The dynamic challenge viewers to reconsider traditional definition of justice. Those who appreciate ethical gray areas will find this thought provoking. Conversely, audience who prefer clear moral guidance in traditional heroes narrative may feel uneasy with the shifting loyalties. Easy emotionally sensitive viewers who approach with caution. While the film does not dabble excessive on graphic imagery, its subject matters involve serial violence and psychological intimidation. The tone is oppressive at times, creating a constant sense of danger. For some, this intensity enhances immersion. For others, it may feel exhausting. If you prefer film that balance darkness with frequent humor or emotional relief, this one may feel too consistently tense. Another group likely to appreciate the films include fan of performances driven cinema. Much of the film strength comes from commanding screen presence of its lead actor, their physicality, voice control, and sustained emotional expression carry significant weight. If you are the type of viewer who watches film for nose acting rather than elaborate plotting, you will likely value the performances highly. The chemistry between the lead create a layered emotional experience that extend beyond the written script. International audience who are curious about Korean genre filmmaking will also benefit from watching this film. It reflects many strengths associated with Korean thriller discipline, pacing, tonal seriousness, and strong character focus. It may not reach the emotional extremity of some other Korean crime film, but it maintains a consistent intensity for viewers exploring global cinema beyond Hollywood. This film provides an accessible entry point in Korean crime storytelling. The film's main art satisfy viewers seeking innovative narrative experimentation. It follows a fairly traditional investigation structure while executed effectively does not radically define the genre. Those looking for unconventional storytelling technique, non-linear timelines, or abstract symbolism may find it straightforward. The emotional resonance of the film centers on tension, rivalry, and reluctant respect. It does not offer sentimental redemption or heartwarming transformation. The satisfaction comes from watching two powerful figures navigate distrust and necessity. If you connect with stories about pride and uneasy alliance, the emotional payoff we earn. If you prefer character arc built around vulnerability and emotional confession, you may find the emotional tone restrained. Ultimately, the movie is designed for viewers who appreciate great maturity and psychological tension. It rewards patience, attention to character dynamic, and confront with moral ambiguity. It is not ideal for children, sensitive viewers, or those seeking light-hearted escapism, but for adult crime thriller fans who value atmosphere, performance strength, and grounded storytelling. It offers a compelling and memorable experience that lingers long after the credits.